In this podcast, chat about the win against Swansea, look ahead to Leeds and Derby, and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Avenelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Avenelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with me, Johnny, Dana, Tom and Matt. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday Chatter in a podcast, and Boro have finally won our first day of the season in over a decade. Latte Lath, of course, give Boro the win, equaling Brian Clough's record, of course, of 7 consecutive league club goals in a row. And Boro are now 6th in the championship table, beating, of course, our points tally from last season, where it took us about 30 million games to get our first win. Guys, obviously, we're very, very happy. Of course, it was a lovely day in Teesside, but I felt absolutely horrendous during that game. But what was your one key takeouts from the game? Dana, you can go first. What was your key takeout?
We won. We actually won on the opening day. I think it's obviously something that we've been searching for the past 9 seasons. So the fact that we have registered those first 3 points on the board, I think is really important, and I don't think should be understated in any way, shape or form. I think there was maybe an expectation starting to form based on the last 2 seasons in particular that Boro might start slowly again this season. So it's really good. It's kind of that pressure off the players' backs, especially the players that have been involved in the last 2 seasons, to know that at least from game week 1, we're not playing catch up. You know, we've registered those first 3 points on the board, and we've managed to get rid of that little burden on our backs, I think. So talk about the performance, and we will obviously get into it, but the absolute most imperative, most important thing is that we won that game yesterday, and I'm so happy for that.
And I'll go to Matt next. Matt, what's your one key takeout? I'm assuming I'll be on the same lines of we won a game of football.
Yeah, mine was just that 3 points is all that matters. Obviously, we would have loved to have put 4 or 5 past Swansea yesterday and made a statement and be top of the table on goal difference and whatever. But for me, I just wanted us to win one way or another yesterday. We've already, as you say, topped our points tally after, I think, 8 games into last season or 7 games into last season. So I think it was a bit of pressure off the shoulders of the players to get that win straight away. And because obviously the more games that go by without us winning, I think fans would probably get more and more anxious looking back to last season. Obviously, it piles more pressure on the players week to week, especially with it being the same group who obviously were here last year mostly. So, yeah, for me, it was just win at any cost. The performance, or a good performance, would have been a bonus. Just to get 3 points on the board was everything yesterday.
Yeah, and then for you, Tom, wearing a lovely Toronto shirt, I must admit, it's a very, very nice shirt. But what was your key takeout from Middlesbrough yesterday?
It's not been worn in a good 5 or 6 years as well, so brought it out of retirement for this pod. But Boro yesterday, really, really positive start. And you know, it's nice to have football back with a win. I got there quite early yesterday because with Newport Bridge being closed, I was expecting more traffic than there actually was. Ended up getting there extremely early, walked over to the ground, and I'm like, I'm taking it all in. And I'm like, yeah, I went to the Mackem for meat, chips and gravy, you know, looking at the stadium on the walk in. And it's just, it's so nice to have this back properly. Got into the stadium, and then it was like, this is going to be the hard part because we've not won at home. Well, not won on the opening day in 10 years. So there was a bit of an edge going into it. Probably wouldn't have been there if we hadn't discussed it on last week's pod either, because I wouldn't have even noticed. It was just a feeling that we don't usually do it on the first day. But no, with it being 10 years, really good performance from us. It looked like a solid continuation of last season. And I think there's more to come from us as well. I think on the tease phone in yesterday, Mado said something I was thinking during the game, and that was they're not match sharp yet. He said that it's going to take them about 5 or 6 games to get to that point. I think once everyone's match sharp in that squad, it's going to be an unreal style of football and unreal execution of it, should I say. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it as the season progresses. Not getting carried away, but I'm seeing some really positive early signs from us.
Yeah, and I think just to round us off, my probably key takeout was balance. I would say we look like a really balanced outfit, both attacking and defensively. I think it's been happening probably for about March time last year. Last season. It's been a long year. And it's I think we look just really solid, and I think it's maybe went unnoticed. I would say that we haven't really give away many big chances. I remember last season when we were looking at it, and we had the lovely video what you did, Matt, on Middlesbrough conceding very low XG chances, conceding from them. And when I watch Middlesbrough, sometimes I think, you know what, defending around our box, we've always been fair enough, and maybe unlucky at times where we've been caught in the transition, which is a natural thing in football. A lot of teams do. Most goals will happen from a transition. Anyway, but in terms of how we looked, I thought we nullified Swansea yesterday. I thought we were really good defensively. I thought Van der Berg and Matt Clark were just superb as always, and we made a win probably a bit harder than we probably could have been. We should have probably finished the game off in the first half. Could have been 2-0 up. Should have scored at the end, but we never. And they didn't really have a chance unless we give them it, and that was Morris in the first half. But overall, a really good balanced performance and a balanced team, but can only get better. But before we dive into the Swansea game, just Dana and Tom, Chip Van Mackham yesterday. I was going to say, how would you rate your meat, chips and gravy and your chips and curry from yesterday?
Ooh, chips and curry, always a 10 out of 10. It cannot fall beneath 10 out of 10. Like, you can't do chips and curry wrong. So, yeah, I've got to give the Mackham his dues. I think it was splendid first one back.
Oh, God, mine's going to sound controversial now, but 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm saying that is because I think I might have been the first customer being there that early. And as I got to the van, he just taken the chips out the deep fat fryer and put them into the carton. So at times I was having to dip a chip into gravy to cool it down, if anything. Whereas if I'd have timed it so I'd got it there a bit later, probably would have been the 10. Nothing was wrong with anything else in it. Really nice. It was just those chips where the inside was hotter than the surface of the sun, really.
Yeah, so a fairly decent standard. Matt, you just had the standard Riverside chips yesterday, but I feel like you're missing out. You're never missing out there. So maybe that's one for you to come into
Changes
later
your
on.
life, Matt.
And to be fair, I had the Mackham quite a few times last season. It was just a bit too early for me yesterday. I'd not long since had my breakfast, so I didn't want to double down on her. But next home game I'll be there. Don't worry.
Those bloody 12:30 kickoffs.
I know, ruining football.
Ruins football. I mean, 12:30 next week as well, which is a stinker for us all. But who cares, But let's chat about Swansea. Then we'll move away from the chip chatter just right now and chat about Swansea instead. Dana, how would you assess the 1-0 win yesterday?
Well, firstly, it was really good to be back. I know we usually have the same amount of time between seasons every year, but I always miss going to the Riverside every Saturday. I think the performance was quite typical of an opening day display. Some good moments, some moments that need to be refined. Boro did set out their stall from the start. I thought we dominated large spells of the first half. Obviously got that goal through Latte Lath after really good work from Jones to win the penalty. And then we dropped off towards the end of that first 45, which kind of set the tone for the second half. And it was quite sludgy and sticky, especially when Ronald came on for Swansea. I think he probably galvanised them and lifted their performance up a little bit, because he is a fun and exciting, quite direct player. Although I do think we defended against him, especially Luke Ayling, pretty well. And we did concede a bit of territory towards the end of the game, which from a viewing standpoint, especially when your team are only 1-0 up, it's not the best thing in the world. But we did defend really, really well. And I completely agree with what you said earlier, Johnny. I think defensively over the past few months, I think we've definitely improved. And that's absolutely worth noting. One moment in particular that I absolutely loved was Aiden Morris towards the end of the game, just caging that ball in and stopping the distribution from Swansea to basically launch that final attack. I think it was just that block, tried to push the Swansea player back a little bit, and he did that successfully. And obviously the response to that, I think it showed Boro fans massively appreciated that effort. The big question from that game, though, is how on earth did we not score more than that one goal? And we will get into it later, but we did have chances. Just decision making wasn't quite there. And I think there were probably, we had chances, we didn't convert them. And then we had openings that I think we could have taken more of an advantage of. So that's maybe something to look out for, because I know last season it was a bit of a tricky thing for us, because ultimately we do not want to be on the wrong end of these tight score lines. Thankfully, this time round, we obviously got the victory, but just something to maybe keep an eye on and see whether that improves or whether it sticks and we kind of have the same problems as last season. But I'm happy that we've obviously registered that first win. It was a decent display, nothing too stand out necessarily, but it's the first game of the season, so I'm not really expecting that.
Yeah, and Matt, there was, like Dana was saying, we had plenty of chances done, and we just didn't put them away. And fairly happy with the performance. I mean, you were looking at me, and I was very tender yesterday. But thoughts, feelings, emotions. You were very happy, of course, when Latte Lath scored. Nearly threw yourself at me. I couldn't get you off me, to be honest. But overall, happy.
That was before the penalty was even given, Johnny, to be honest. But no, I was happy with the performance overall. Naturally, yeah, we weren't expecting anything too amazing on the opening day, but first half I thought we settled really well. I think it's a real compliment to the continuity I think that we've carried over from last season, and the preparation in terms of bringing in the likes of Aiden Morris as early as we did. The fact he's had a full pre-season and could just step straight into that starting 11 yesterday, and albeit he nearly had a moment which could have completely flipped the script on him a little bit had we conceded there. But I think it was a real compliment to Boro's preparation and how early we've got our business done, and the fact we've brought in a lot of players last season. They've improved, they've started this season. We had a settled 11, a lot like pre-season. We could just hit the ground running, and first half I was really happy. I think the only real opening Swansea had, if any, were through our own individual errors. I wouldn't say they carved us open at all from open play. And then, second half, there was a bit of a drop-off, but you expect Swansea to try and get back into the game. And I think a lot of that was down to the fact that they brought 4 or 5 bodies on in the second half. And I think at this stage in the season, fitness probably plays a bigger role in as a differential between both sides. They put fresh legs on. We kept the same 11 until 70 plus minutes, it might have been. And I think that, you could see that. And there was maybe a little bit of anxiety that we hadn't made a change. And a lot of people in the stands, I know, were shouting about us waiting to concede and allowing and inviting pressure. But yeah, really, barring crosses and corners, Swansea didn't really force a save out of Dieng. We defended our box extremely well, limited them any really big chances. So overall, we had nothing to worry about in a sense. But yeah, the one big, not negative, but improvement was that we didn't kill the game off. And I know we'll chat about it more. It was a problem last season, and maybe if Swansea did get one of them low XG chances that I made a compilation of last season, we might live to regret not scoring a second or a third, and it might have been different on another day against a better side. But yeah, that's the only negative for me, is that we didn't kill the game off, and Jones didn't bloody square it at the end. But we can all look back and laugh now.
You know what I really quite liked from that game as well? It's something that I noticed in pre-season too. It's Boro winning the ball back high up the pitch. I think trying to initiate those high turnovers and basically strike the team basically right in the heart of them, to be honest, when they're a little bit vulnerable. I think I quite like that. And obviously with Latte Lath, you get a striker that can press. Finazaz doesn't do that so much alongside him, but for me, it's not necessarily a bad thing because Latte Lath does it himself. But yeah, the kind of high pressure onto the opposition's back line and trying to force them into mistakes, something that I noticed in pre-season and also in the game yesterday against Swansea. So something to maybe keep an eye on. Maybe Boro are going to be quite high up in regards to high turnovers this season.
Yeah, and obviously Dana, Matt, you both mentioned the man you say his name. We have to talk about him. It's Manuel Latte Lath, and he scored yesterday. Tom, penalty, of course. Against the game against Heerenveen, he missed, of course. So how good was it to see him put the penalty away yesterday, following his previous miss?
Really good. I mean, that was a bit of a worry for me as soon as Jones went down. By the way, Jones winning 3 penalties in a week, great work from him. Could very easily
really
be
good.
turned into our version of Callum Wilson or Harry Arter from when Bournemouth went up. But the key difference is Jones is actually getting fouled. But yeah, when that penalty was given, I was looking around to see who picked the ball up. And it was initially Luke Galen, and he walked over and gave the ball to Latte Lath, had words with him, and it was almost as if say like, you're our penalty taker, you can do this, maybe a few words of advice or something. And then you got Latte Lath stepping up, and I'm just kind of like, please don't miss again. It was like all that was going from my head at that point was I was hoping for his sake that he scored it, because I wouldn't want him to miss 2 penalties and his head to drop, lose a bit of confidence or anything like that. Puts the penalty away superbly well, and then goes and screams into the south stand for a bit. It was it's a really well taken penalty, and I'm glad that he got the chance only a week after missing the one against Heerenveen to put it right, and he can kind of take that into the season moving forward now. Probably the best way the season could have started for him, because I don't recall us creating too many chances for him in particular yesterday. Maybe that one he volleyed towards the goal, and he did miss a header in the second half as well. I think it might have been off a corner or a cross or something, but it's good for him at least to get off the mark in the first game.
Yeah, 100% it is. And you're bang on there, Tom, when you say for a striker, getting that first goal of the season, it means a lot, because then money's off your back, and then you're ready to go. You've got the confidence there. And I think you'll only get better like that. He could have had a couple yesterday. I was thinking that corner in the second half where he darted for the header. It was a really powerful header, and it just went wide. But it was like that chance where you're thinking, maybe could have been. But there's a lot of if, buts, and maybe, just where Boro could have probably put the game to bed. And you know what? We were quite fortunate, I would say, at certain points. If we didn't actually put the game to bed, we're lucky that we got a win in the end, because although Swansea didn't create much at all in the game, the only chance they really had was when Boro probably given the opportunity to do so. And I'll come on to Swansea in a minute, because they were doing exactly the same as us in terms of giving us chances. But Dana, do you think there's some rustiness at play? I know you've all really alluded to it in terms of sharpness. So do you think it's just that rustiness that was causing Boro to make a couple of mistakes and give Swansea those chances? Because it's that big one in the first half, of course, with Morris.
I'm a little bit reluctant to pin it down to rustiness, mostly because we've seen these lapses playing out from the back under Michael Carrick within any point of the season, to be honest. Personally, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I can't tell anybody else how to receive how Boro play, but I've kind of just accepted that that's going to happen sometimes. It's a risky approach, and with risk sometimes come mistakes. But when it works, it's really, really good. Like, it's so good to see us basically play through an opposition team's press. So yeah, it's kind of like a take the rough with the smooth with that. I wouldn't personally say that it's down to rustiness. I just think that's kind of, yeah, when you play that way, you're always going to get these momentary lapses, a little bit too casual sometimes.
I think as well, because it is the way that we play, it's just about mitigating that risk and making sure it doesn't happen so often. It's going to happen occasionally, but you don't obviously want it happening in every game. I do think the one from Morris in the first half, maybe, and I think there might have been another one, another example where we were playing out from the back and we just kind of gave it straight back to them, or might have been when Swansea were pressing high in the second half. I wouldn't say it was necessarily nerviness from Clark and Vandenberg, but they seemed to be firing the ball at each other across the box a fair bit, and it was almost as if neither one of them wanted to make the mistake, and they were just like, "You have it back, we'll give it back to Dieng." So that's maybe another risk where if it's not going right at times in the game, we can start to be a little bit nervy with it. But again, it's going to come down to work and repetition just to make sure the amount of times that happens is lowered throughout the season.
Yeah, I think on that though, there was one big difference I would say yesterday from previous season. Our season's gone by on the Carrick is that somehow we'd overplay too much at the back, or if we were to get possession back from the opposition team, we were quite wanting to play from the back and build straight away. But yesterday, I would love to see the numbers from Matt Clark just hoofing the ball up, knocking it somewhere where it's safe in the channel, knocking it the other way, and just clearing it rather than trying to overplay. And I think that again, it just reduces the risk that you potentially have in a game. But when you chat about Swansea, they could have probably done with that yesterday, because when I was watching them, it was quite interesting to see them like in possession, out of possession. I know we were in the last show, we were on about them changing their style back to the Swansea way, getting used to playing with possession, really trying to cut teams open, going into that 3-2-5 if you want to, where you see a lot of teams doing that, where you try to pin your fullbacks back. And with them yesterday, they were probably the biggest downfall in terms of the way they shoot themselves in the foot, because they were far too expansive when they were playing a back three at times, because the centre back was really far. One centre back was really far. The other side was the other side. You had two players out wide trying to pin the fullbacks, and the aim was for them yesterday. Can we really target Boro's fullbacks and cause them some issues? Because we know that Engel and Ayling, that maybe potentially suspect defensively, then they haven't got the legs, or quotations, the legs to get back, or they're more reluctant, or they're more looking to make a tackle or make the right pass. So I'll see that probably a lot this year. I think teams will target Boro's fullbacks, but then what that does create is that midfield central, like in the centre, you've got more, like I would say, more control of the game. You've controlled the centre of the pitch, and the way that Swansea were playing yesterday with Boro's good press to control the good areas, it made it really difficult for Swansea to get out, and then they were making more errors that Boro could turn the ball over and then get in behind and play the ball over the top or play the ball in behind. And that's how Boro, for me, I think that's how they were able to win the game yesterday. But it always comes back to that thing for me. I think if you control the centre of the pitch, you'll probably win the game 9 times out of 10, to be honest, because that is where you are the most dominant. And we're seeing it more and more now. Boro playing with that box midfield, and they're trying to make things a little bit problematic for the opposition. And probably again, when we see it against Derby, I think on Saturday that they like to play with 4-3-3. They did it against Blackburn and got punished really badly. I think they'll probably match us come Saturday, because I think Boro will probably outpower them in midfield if they were to go that 4-3-3 route. But in terms of Swansea, I think they were their own downfall, to be honest. Really poor in possession at times, weren't being quick and zip, but that will come with sharpness. And I still think they'll be a good side. They just need more additions in there. And maybe just tweak things about. But for Boro, really good win yesterday. But it could have been more, of course. I did say at the start of the show that we did miss many chances. Danny, you alluded to it as well. Matt, you alluded to it. Tom, you even alluded to it as well. Everyone's alluded to it. I think even you listening at home or even watching us going, God, we could have won by more yesterday. But most notably, Isaiah Jones, there was a shot in the first half where he was through one-on-one and chipped in and just nearly just missed the post and went wide. And then at the end, where he ran through, everyone screaming, square it, Isaiah, and he doesn't, goes for the shot, and it's just cleared off the line. I mean, it would have, no one would have been happy if it went in the back of the net, of course. Everyone would be happy and celebrating everything all good, but Bergzorg definitely wasn't happy about it. Do you think this could potentially cost Boro, though? I know the reaction, of course, from Bergzorg and Jones was a bit tense. It was a bit tense at the end of the game. I could see them arguing with each other. Naturally, a high professional environment, you're going to see it. But do you think not squaring it, or that little glimpse of not squaring it, could cost Boro in the season if it does become a pattern?
I don't think so. It's interesting because there's moments in the game as well where maybe, I think Finazaz, it happened once or twice, where he got into a really good shooting position and he maybe held on to it too long, or he cut inside, and people are like absolutely saying, shoot, you're such a good technically gifted player, you've got a shot on you, take a shot. Happens so often. I mean, to be fair, even when like Hayden Hackney received the ball 40 yards out, you've got fans in the north asking for him to shoot. I mean, I don't get why, but you always get it. But I think it depends. There's times in a game where players are maybe open for a pop-up goal, and if you take a shot, I mean, if you it might go in. It's an opportunity. You never know. But then equally, there are better opportunities where players should square it or pass it off. So it's a difficult balance. I think it often depends on what your options are at that given moment. But definitely in a moment like that where it would have just finished the game, it would have calmed any nerves. I do not know why Isaiah Jones did not square that ball. It was almost a Harry Kane moment, to be honest, against Croatia. If Swansea had gone down the other end and equalised, I dread to think what the reaction would have been. I mean, Bergzorg didn't even want to look at him. I think post final whistle, he was just stood furious. So I think with Bergzorg, from what we've heard, I do worry that players might, maybe him and I don't know. I've not really seen it in other Boro players, to be honest, all that much. They might get a little bit too individualist. I think they mostly make the right decision for the team. But yeah, certainly that it could have come back to bite us yesterday, and it would have been a real blemish on the game, and it would have left us leaving the ground with a real sour taste in our mouth. So I'd like to think over the course of the season we'll get them decisions right more often than not. But yeah, it depends. Sometimes it's better to shoot, sometimes it's better to pass. It's just all down to decision making, which wasn't all that great yesterday and does need improving.
I don't know whether this is an entirely shit point, but Jones did nearly score. Like, it was Ben Cabango that got back and read the situation well and blocked it on the line. Like, it wasn't as if Jones absolutely took Johnny's head clean off in the north stand. Like, yeah, I probably should have squared it, but I wasn't asked. Like, I wasn't asked at the time. I'm not asked afterwards. I just found it funny that it was Bergzorg, of all players, that was whinging that he didn't get the ball passed to him.
The irony. I did think, as well as in a slight defence of Jones, I do think it was either his first or second touch kind of took it away from him a little bit on that run. And that's going to happen in 90th minute of the game when you've spent all the game sprinting as much as he does. You are going to be a lot more tired and potentially make those minor mistakes in the touch of the ball. But like you say, he did nearly score. And for me, it wasn't necessarily Jones being selfish there. I think there was potentially more chance of an error with the pass because of where he'd knocked the ball into. I think if he'd tried to square that across on his left foot, bearing in mind, we know what Jones's passing, I wouldn't say passing ability, maybe kicking ability or kicking technique is like anyway. There's a chance the keeper could have caught that, slid out for it and got it and started a counter-attack anyway. And for me, he's made the most of a bad situation there and still nearly scored from it. So, like I said, minor defense of Jones there, but I can understand Bergzorg's frustration. But like I said, it is very ironic that he's the one on the other side of that, given what we've seen in pre-season. I think decision making is going to get better and better as the games go on as well. I did think in the first half we were pretty dominant. I said to my dad at the end of the first half, I was like, other than the pass across from Morris, which kind of led to that bit of danger, and it obviously ended in a foul, so I don't know if we're counting that as a shot. I don't recall Swansea having a shot in the first half. And we were that dominant. We were recycling possession every time they got it out. For me, going into that second half, it was kind of like, it's not if we're going to come out well in the second half, it's how many we're going to score. And we probably did have the chance to score a few more. Matt, your point on Azaz, I don't know if he trusts himself on his left foot, because a couple of times running into the box, like you mentioned, it was on his left and he kept hold of it too long. It was like watching Dan Barlaser when he gets into the box and he's just like, who can I pass it to? Because I really don't want to shoot. It just seemed like he maybe didn't trust his left. But then he had another opportunity that came from a throw-in and he caught it on the volley with his left foot and it was on target and straight at the keeper. It was quite a decent connection. So I was like, why don't you trust your left foot? You've got an all right left foot. So
yeah, I don't know whether it's that he doesn't trust it. I think it's just, I mean, he might not. I truly don't know. But I feel like it's just part of his stylistic makeup. He just seems to like that chop inside. It's very like FIFA 19, isn't it? And proper just try to get that cut inside. But yeah, that's Plymouth fans did say that that's something that he likes to do. I just wish that he wouldn't a lot of the time, if I'm honest. But yeah, whatever.
As could you not?
It might have been a similar. It might have been a similar thing with Jones, actually, when he was running, obviously, on the counter at the end. He's obviously knackered at that point. I mean, I don't trust his left foot at the best of times. But I think at that point in the game, he probably didn't want to square it to Bergzorg because it would have been easy to do it on his left. If he'd have shifted his body and tried to square it with his right, then I think absolutely there was a big chance of it getting cut out. Had that been on his other foot and he was counter-attacking down the right, he probably would have just put one of them Isaiah Jones low passes into Bergzorg for a tap. And so I think maybe he can be excused by the fact that the easy pass would have had to have been on his left foot. And at that point in the game, yeah, it probably wouldn't have even made it to the penalty spot, to be honest. So that could be a similar sort of excuse for Jones's decision as well.
Yeah, and speaking about left foots, Matt, I mean, I've seen your left foot on pro clubs and it is the worst left foot. That would have hit me in the head in the north stand if you took a shot from that.
It'd have cleared the stand, mate. It'd be in the River Tees.
Yeah, oh well, not in Lazenby Field, not a chance. There's not. To be fair, probably could have hit. Anyway, speaking of poor left foots, actually, there's no relevance at all to poor left foots. He's not even left footed. But Aiden Morris made his debut yesterday. Tom, becoming the 1,000th player to play for Boro senior team, and obviously at halftime was a really nice moment as well when Tony Mowbray came up. I'll come on that in just a moment if you have any thoughts on it. But Aiden Morris, how do you think he fared yesterday? Because I thought he played fairly well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the real positive was he brought a lot of energy to that midfield. And I think when we've had certain combinations over the last season, that maybe hasn't been the case. Howson, he does have it in spells, but it's unrealistic to expect nothing but energy from Howson for 90 minutes. Barlas is just not that type of player. And then with having Hackney injured for a large portion of last season, we didn't really have that in midfield, and it was great to see it from Morris yesterday. And obviously, nothing encapsulates that more than him closing down in the 92nd minute of the game and not letting up at all. And that is something Boro fans love to see. So I can fully expect he's going to end up being a bit of a fan's favourite if he keeps that up. But yeah, really, really encouraging first game from him. And for me, I'm kind of wondering how many combinations can he fit into in centre midfield and possibly make them better. Could he be the answer to unlocking the potential that Dan Barlas has? If Barlas is, able to play a little bit deeper like Hackney was yesterday, be that more kind of deep line playmaker, but to be able to try these risky balls, knowing that he's got a centre midfield partner who can chase and clean up after him. I wonder if that means we can maybe get the best out of Barlas of the season, as well as, Hayden and Aiden creating such a good partnership in centre mid.
Yeah, Tom, that's caught on this week, Hayden and Aiden, hasn't it? It's really caught on. I've seen it by a few County of Middlesbrough as well, tweeting about it. So people listen to you, Tom.
Accepting royalty checks.
Yeah, 100%. I don't blame you at all. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant yesterday, Aiden Morris. I was really happy with him, and I agree with you there, Tom. I think who can he make better in this squad? I think every combination he does really well in, to be honest, and he's definitely that replacement, I would say, for Howson, definitely 100%, and he's only going to get better as he adapts to the Championship. But anyway, right, I think a ball has just went into my garden. I think it might have been Matt's Pro doing a left-footed shot. So I'm going to go and take a little bit of a breather and you can learn a bit more about Boro Breakdown merchandise.
I know, you probably hate ads, but don't skip this one because we've got some very exciting stuff to talk about. Do you want to be a part of Knee Slide Club? Well, you can be, but why not get your own Knee Slide Club t-shirt as well? Fancy a slightly less creased version of the Shithouse Island tee? Or perhaps you want a Boro Breakdown embroidered hat to keep your head warm during those cold Riverside nights. We've teamed up with Teesside to create our own Boro Breakdown merch range. If you want to support us on the podcast and support a local business, then the link to our merch items are always in the description. Happy shopping and up the Boro Breakdown.
I'm not going to have to get him from getting that ball back. Anyway, while I get my breath, it's time for podcast questions. Yes, podcast questions. Every week you get the chance to ask us a question via Twitter or by joining our Telegram chat with all the few hundred Boro fans chatting anything but Boro. But the first question this week, it's from Paul, and he says, did we delay the subs for too long? We got away with it in the second half, and were we too reactive? Who would like to take this one? Is there anyone who would like to take it?
I'll do it because I'm unmuted. Yeah, to be honest, it's something that it's kind of a criticism that's laid at Michael Carrick's door, hasn't it, over the time that he's been managing this club, that he's just a little bit too reactive rather than proactive. I did think about 5 to 10 minutes before Bergzorg was brought on that Bergzorg should have been brought on, probably for Azaz, who, in fairness, I don't think was having the greatest of afternoons. But yeah, I mean, did we get away with it? That, to me, that kind of has the idea of that Swansea were massively unfortunate not to come away with something. I don't think they were, because we defended well, and I don't feel like they really posed that much of a threat, given how precarious the scoreline was, in that it was only 1-0. So in the end, maybe you could flip it and say that it was not necessarily a masterclass, but it was managed. The game was managed well by Michael Carrick. So that's going to be a question that I think is leveled at Michael Carrick all season, because it just seems to be the thing that he's criticised for. But it's not so much. It wasn't so much of a problem for me yesterday, to be honest.
Just to add something on at the end of that there, Dana, because you've mentioned there, we were defending well. So in terms of the substitutions that we could bring on, it would have just been to change our attack, really. Whereas when Swansea were getting the ball, as Johnny said earlier, they were going out wide, crossing it in, but we were pretty much cleaning up everything that they crossed in, and it was a game plan that wasn't working for them. So, I mean, they stuck to it, and fair enough, definition and insanity and all that. But I don't think the subs were necessarily too late from Carrick, because there wasn't a great deal in the game left to change. Obviously, we would have loved to have been 2 or 3 goals up at that point, and then at that point the substitutions become a little bit different, in that, you know, maybe you bring Bergzorg on, maybe Hamilton gets like 5 minutes at the end. I mean, for now he's got to wait for it, but you know, those types of subs, they would have depended on the game state, and as it was, that we were defending well and keeping them out, and there was no real need to bring those subs on, I think.
See, I understand that. I think in future games, I would like us to be more proactive than reactive in the substitution side of things. It's twofold. I would say that yesterday it could be more about minutes and getting people to play longer, because of course you're coming out of pre-season, you want to get sharpness up there. But I think secondly, I think if you are to make subs, it gives an opposition, well, another thing to think about, makes things a bit more difficult for them. The fresh legs would have helped Boro get out a bit quicker, because there was a good spell where we couldn't really get out. We were booting it, like, you know, to try and clear it, but that again invites more pressure. And, you know, to have that bit of pace, and appreciate this will probably come in the next few games, where if you want to play Hamilton and bring him on, or bring Bergzorg on, or if we were to go and get another player in, we've got the ability to just to give someone another, or give a team like a problem when they're just slowly starting to get a foothold in the game. Because I think what would be nice maybe yesterday was, whilst they were going through that spell, we stopped the game, so you nullify it a little bit, you kill the rhythm. And all about possession-based teams, it's all about rhythm. It's all about trying to get the ball to each side, left, playing between each other, and creating space, and also trying to get in behind. And, you know, sometimes when you just stop that rhythm and create a moment of madness, that really just kills any possession-based team, to be honest. So maybe we could have done it a bit sooner, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. We still came away with 3 points. But in future games, when people get up to speed, I would like us to be a bit more reactive, because that could be the difference from Boro getting into the playoffs and promotion than not. But who knows? We need to kill these games off a little bit quicker. But the next question, it's from Ian. He says, why, when we're in goal-scoring positions that most teams would capitalise on, do we always seem to take the wrong option? Matt, do you want to take this one? Why do you think we seem to take the wrong option?
I don't know. I think it's just something that just needs to be coached into the players. I mean, we saw last season, didn't we, where it's not like we've got a problem creating these opportunities. We're right up there for big chances created, but we're also up there for big chances missed. So I wouldn't say we've got a problem as such in getting in the right areas and maybe creating the chance itself. It's just finishing it off. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just one of them things that'll just develop and improve over time. The more the players get used to one another, and the more it's just coached into them. I think that's all you can do with decision making. But I'm confident that we'll get there because we've got really good players who continue to get in really good areas and create good opportunities. So yeah, it's just something that I think will be ironed out over time, and something that I hope won't become a big issue and something that will only improve.
And then the final question today comes from James. He says, "What team would you put out for the cup game against Leeds? The lads looked tired. I was going to say the tired look lads there. At the end, worked hard. 3 games in 1 week is a big ask, but Leeds will always be a big game, and we don't want to get spanked." Tom, do you want to take this one? What team would you put out against Leeds?
It's a bit of a difficult one, this one, and I'm having to like put my football manager head on to answer it. Because if it was any other team in the well, maybe not any other team, Sunderland and Newcastle spring to mind as well, but if it was a lower league team in the first round of the Carabao Cup, you'd probably expect to see quite a bit of rotation, give people a chance. With it being Leeds, you do expect a tough game from them, and you expect us to put out a competitive lineup. That being said, we have rotation options done in our squad this year. So potentially, McGree and Azaz could be rotated out. Maybe put Bergsorg and maybe Hamilton in, maybe Gilbert. Who knows? But you've got those options behind the striker, which, to be honest, I think should remain as Latte Lath for this game because he loves a goal against Leeds. With centre midfield options, you could keep it the same. Or, like I said earlier, Aiden Morris could be the key to kind of unlocking what we can get from Dan Barlaser. So you maybe rotate Barlaser in, you maybe give Howson minutes there. And potentially you could take one of Clark and Vandenberg out and put Lenihan in. Potentially as well, you could see the goalkeeper getting rotated, but that's pretty common for a cup game as well. So we've got rotation options there, and they are quite strong rotation options as well. So as long as we're not kind of writing the game off and playing a completely second and third string team against Leeds, that's the kind of approach I would take with it.
Okay, then fair enough. So change the full 11, I would probably go for. Just change it all. What's the worst that could happen there? Anyway, let's get our hands up. Let's preach. It's the praising place. Yes, the praising place. The only place to give praise to a player, coaching staff member. Bratwurst, our centre forward. Sorry, number 10. Sorry, number 10.
Yes, get it right.
Jimmy Rahal, there's Baldinho, and say his name and he appears, Joe Hendry, as well. But guys, praise and place. Who's in your praise and place this week? Daniel, would you like to go first? Who are you preaching for?
Well, there was one player that I think stood out amongst all of his teammates. I think it was such a good performance, a complete 10 out of 10 masterclass, and it was Johnny Howson. I'm just kidding. I think my man of the match for yesterday, honestly, was probably Matt Clark, Matt Summer rather than Brat Summer. I just think he's a fantastic defender. And when you want somebody to put his body on the line and to actually defend the goal with all that he has, I think Matt Clark is absolutely that player. And I really enjoyed. I mean, he's such a good defender. He even blocks his own teammates from scoring. So I enjoyed him. I will also throw Lucas Engel in there because I think Lucas Engel looked more confident. And it's kind of that intangible, you can't really measure it. But I just felt like his performance was better. And I quite like that. I'm really rooting for Lucas Engel this season because everyone's throwing Ryan Giles' name around and it's understandable. We all love Giles. But we do have a left back there that's contracted to us right now. And it would be wonderful, really, really good to see Lucas Engel build on last season and become a really important asset for this team right now. other players, I do want to mention Jones, because I think Jones showed what he's capable of. I think he can, he's a real threat against teams. The way that he won that penalty was proper old school Jones, actually taking the player on, kind of worming into the box and winning that foul. So I'm trying to think of the rest of the team. Obviously, Morris. There was quite a few good performers there, but I think the three that I do want to mention, Matt Clark, Isaiah Jones, and who was it that I also said just then? I literally just forgot.
Engel.
Lucas Engel. There we go.
Anyway, at least someone's listening. Anyway, Matt Clark. Matt Clark is kind of what your pro club looks like, to be fair, Matt. So we'll go for it. Who's in your present place? Is Baldino in your present place?
Baldino's always in my present place, no matter what you say about him. And I'm talking about my pro. I'd put the entire back line in there, to be honest. I mean, yeah, there was good performances throughout going up the pitch as well. But I was really, really impressed with Boro's back line yesterday. And maybe went under the radar a little bit in pre-season. The fact that we picked up 3 clean sheets, I believe, Heerenveen, Harrogate, Bolton. And yeah, it gets written off in pre-season a little bit because you're playing low league opposition and who cares, it's pre-season. But I was really impressed with how we defended the box yesterday. I think both fullbacks defended really well up against Swansea's tricky wingers, and everything that was getting chucked in the box, Rav and Clark were just heading it straight back out. There was a chance, was it second half, where I think the ball come across our box from left to right. It bounced up awkwardly for their number 10, and Ayling got out, made the first block, and then Rav, I think, took one in the face for the second block. I thought Dieng saved it at first, but it actually hit Rav right in the face. And it's something that we maybe don't think of and associate with Michael Carrick's sides. But if we can build on that, as we say, it's the difference, isn't it? I think our attacking qualities could get us playoffs, but the question mark whether we can go that extra step is probably around our defence, and that you apart from maybe Ipswich is the outlier, you need a good defence to get automatic promotion. And if we can improve on having a good defence, and as you said, Johnny, get top 6 for clean sheets maybe this season, that could take us that one step further into challenging, maybe not just top 6, maybe that little bit further. So that's where I put my present place. And as well, I just want to quickly mention half-time, seeing Tony Mowbray come out.
Yes.
That, for me, topped anything that happened in the game. To see him come out, look well, look healthy, and the reception he got off the Boro fans was moving. And to see how emotional he got, I mean, I was getting emotional. I think everyone was. And I've seen so many people online say how much they choked up just seeing him. The reception he got from the fans and the words he said about the club as well, it was just such a wholesome moment, and it made me proud to be a Teessider, and it made me proud to have Tony Mowbray as one of our own, and just to see him well and hopefully he continues to be well was a highlight from yesterday as well. So chuck Mogger in there as well, just for being an absolute legend.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why squad numbers is good, isn't it? It creates those moments where you can do these really cool things. So it's always a great thing for not just the player, but I think for the club as well. But then I think you wanted to add something there.
I was just going to say, I completely echo that. I was choking up as well. I usually do. I just turn into an absolute wet lettuce whenever a player or former player is introduced to the crowd. But it was really good to see Tony Mowbray. I think he laid down a lot of the foundations for Aitor Karanka's Middlesbrough team. And obviously I didn't watch him play, but he was probably the first Boro manager that allowed me to take this club seriously. And yeah, obviously a massive legend of the area, essentially, and a Redcar lad as well, as he said, just a lad from Redcar that wanted to do the best for his boyhood club. Really good to see him, and that was a touching moment there from Boro to have him on the pitch at halftime receiving his legacy number.
Yeah, and Denny, look, you're not a true Boro fan if you didn't watch Tony Mowbray play, and I'm not even asked if you weren't even born. Tom, who's in your present place this week?
Well, I can't not put Mowbray in it now. It was like Dan Roman said, great to see him at the Riverside, looking quite well. And as you said there, Johnny, the legacy numbers do allow for these kind of moments, and we've already had Janino in the Heerenveen game. I do wonder if it's maybe going to become a bit of a recurring theme during the season, and we start to see some old players rocking up. But that halftime presentation was great to see. I completely echo Matt's talking about the back line. I think everyone in there deserves praise this week, and I will also single out Aiden Morris in the midfield just because, like I say, he was pressing and energetic right up until the end, and it's something that we've needed in this midfield for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think to add, and I do echo all of you, to be fair, in terms of the players and back line. I think Carrick and the coaching staff deserve a lot of credit for helping Boro build better foundation in terms of defensively. I think it's hopefully it can continue for this season that we improve, but it's football and we'll probably concede 5 next week. But I think I will probably follow. I think probably, to be fair, Luke Ayling is probably the one I'll give praise to be honest. And he so surprised me, Luke Ayling. I think when he first signed, I was in the January, I was like, like it gets to the end of the season, will I sign him? Probably not. Came out with some really good return. Then he was captain yesterday, and really good performance, and just a really good leader on the pitch. And fair play. I think he's absolutely just flipped me 180, and I think he's been fantastic for us. Really do, and long may that continue. And hopefully, if he does play at right back at Ellen Roads on during the week in the cup, then please don't concede an own goal or something. I know you love Leeds, but just don't do it. I also find it quite funny that we always sing we all hate Leeds scum, but then we've got like loads of Leeds connections in our team.
I thought that yesterday. There's like a house and an Ayling will be like,
oh. Yeah, I mean, no, not Leeds. I mean, hundreds of games between them. Jonathan Woodgate played for Leeds as well. So just really. Anyway,
everyone hates Leeds scum though.
Anyway, but yeah, I think Luke Ayling is in my praise and place this week, and of course Mugger and all that thing that goes with it. So, well, let's move on. Let's chat some trivia. I absolutely love a bit of trivia on this podcast. And the question that I have for you guys and at home as well is Derby-born Chris Riggott joined Middlesbrough from Derby in 2003. Remember those TVs, did I? But who did he play games? Who did he play more games for, Boro or Derby? Your timer starts now. Time is up. So then, who did Chris Riggott play more for? And obviously, to give you even more of a clue, that Chris Riggott had 2 spells at Derby County as well, and I'll count those. They have to be added together. But who wants to go first? And who wants to give their answer first? Let's go with that one. Who wants to go first? Who wants to make a mug of themselves?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
You both go. I mean, go on.
We both want to make a mug out of ourselves.
I was going to say, I forgot he was there for 2 different spells. I've gone with Boro. I remember him still being here when we were in the Championship. I feel like that might have pushed him over the edge with appearances.
Okay, then. And then
I've gone differently. I've gone Derby. It was kind of a 50-50, and I just went with my gut. So I've gone with Derby.
Okay, and then Matt.
Yeah, flip of a coin for me. I have no idea. My pen's also gave up on me as well, so I've put it on my phone. Middlesbrough. Complete guess. No idea.
Middlesbrough. So if you said Derby County, you were incorrect. It actually was Middlesbrough. He played 146 times for Middlesbrough and then 92 times for Derby. In the second spell, he only played the 1 game. So that absolutely threw everyone. But let's continue with chat with Derby. And yes, I know we have Leeds coming up next. But to be honest, it's a cup game. It's not really that relevant, so I'm just going to do predictions. But anyway, I want to chat about Derby instead. Because the last time we went to Pride Park, last time we won at Pride Park, was in 2018. It was Mo Besic and Britt Assombalonga giving Boro the win. God, what the glory days are. But after a couple of years in the League One wilderness, we caught up with Jake from Ramstock to get us up to speed over Derby across the summer.
Hello, Johnny and the Boro Breakdown team. It's Jake here from Rams Talk Podcast. And yeah, Derby summer. It's been interesting so far, to put it in one way. We knew we needed a lot of players. We knew our recruitment had to be spot on, and I think the majority of it has actually been okay so far. We've brought in players like Kenzo Haldmine, who's coming in the centre of midfield, who looks a really tidy player, picks up the ball, moves it on really well. We brought in Ben Osborne, who's been at Sheffield United, won 2 promotions with them as well. We've sort of bulked up in other areas. Jerry Yates, who's unfortunately suspended against you guys, who looks a bit of a handful up top, and Caden Jackson as well. But problem is with us, we're really lacking a striker, really lacking a striker. And going into the game against Middlesbrough, it's something we know we'll need. We know you're a good football inside. You're a little bit different to the Boro of old that maybe we were used to under the likes of Warnock. And yeah, I think we're going to really miss out on a striker. I mean, Derby's summer has been okay, but the problem is with our pre-season, we've looked pretty poor. And that kind of continued against Blackburn as well. We don't seem to have a settled shape. We don't seem to have a settled lineup. And Paul Warne doesn't seem to know exactly how to get his team playing. We're not great in open play. I'm not really selling this at the minute, but we're not great in open play, but we're very strong at set pieces. So as you probably saw, we scored 2 set pieces against Blackburn, which is what gave us a chance in that game. But looking ahead to Boro, yeah, not feeling confident. I'm going to be honest. As I said, we know you're a good football inside. Obviously, been towards the top of the table for quite some time now with a good manager in Michael Carrick. One of my best mates is called Scott, and he listens to you guys all the time. And he watches every game, and he loves to tell me all about Boro and how good Boro are. So feeling a little bit of concern going into it. We're not the best at the back, it seems, at the moment. But I just hope that we've got enough to stop players like Latte Lath tearing us to pieces, to be honest. So, yeah, I was going to say best of luck. That'd be a bit silly, wouldn't it? But let's hope for a good game at the weekend. And I hope for Derby's sake we get something out of it, because I think we need to break our duck at some point.
Shout out to Scotty there, I guess. Shout out to Scotty, thanks for listening to us. And also, when Jake was going through that voice note, I literally just felt, well, that's 3-0 Derby, then, isn't it? So we've heard these type of voice notes before, guys. You know how things can happen. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I heard Derby were pretty rubbish. I didn't watch the game because I was at a wedding. But, I mean, Matt, you said you watched them on the Friday, and you said they were garbage, so anything could happen. But anyway, Paul Warne's side, joint 4th oldest team in the division at the average age of 27. God, Tom, me and you, anyway, with QPR, Cardiff, and Millwall being a bit older, they do play the 4-3-3. And really struggled on Friday night against Blackburn. So I think they'll match us in terms of formations, but we'll do predictions. And Matt, I'll come to you first, because you had you watched some on Friday night. Give me your thoughts on Derby from Friday, and then give me your prediction.
I wasn't impressed by them. I thought Blackburn, who were a side who were sort of tipped to be one of the strugglers this season, tore them to pieces. I mean, in fairness, second half Derby were pushing forward a little bit to get back in the game, but Blackburn were just all over them at times, and their only real threat offensively come from set pieces. I mean, they were chucking crosses in, and I guess we've kind of seen from the Swansea game that Boro have looked pretty good from defending our box. So if we can do the same again, we shouldn't have any issues. But yeah, they scored both their goals from corners. A stat also popped up during the coverage that they were the best team from set pieces in League One last season. I think they scored like 25 goals from set pieces, which was 6 more than the next best team, I think. So we just need to defend our box from set pieces and corners and crosses, and we should be okay. So I'm a bit more confident after seeing them on Friday. I'm more actually worried about the occasion than I am the opposition. I just have this horrible feeling that, given recent past with Derby, their first home game, probably a sellout or whatever, there's going to be a big crowd there. It's going to be a tough environment for us. So I'm more concerned about that. But I think we'll win. I'm going to say 2-1 Boro. Added caveat, I'm going, which means we're going to lose 3-0.
Thanks for that kiss of death there, Matt. To be honest, you're
You're
not a good
welcome.
podcast today, mate. You're not a good podcast at all. But Dan, what's your prediction for the Derby game?
I think it'll be a score draw. I'm going to go with, is it going to be 1-1 or is it going to be 2-2? I'll say 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. I kind of agree with Matt in regards to like the kind of occasion on the setup of the game. Obviously, there's a bit of tension there between Boro and Derby, given the whole Mel Morris versus Steve Gibson thing. But I'm hopeful that we can get something from it. I just, screw it. Let's go 2-1, Boro. I think we'll just edge it now. Got a random shoot of confidence for some reason.
Don't know where that came from, but I'll take it. Tom, what are you going to go with?
Well, firstly, Matt, what have we told you about going to away games? No, stop it.
I am keeping that up.
I'm going to go and slash your tyres the night before, so you can't go.
But
secondly,
secondly, it might be a big occasion. Hopefully, Carrick pulls a Mikel Arteta and gets a load of speakers out booing at Herworth. That'd be pretty good preparation. I'm going optimistic 3-0 Boro win, with another caveat that Matt Clark is going to score one of the goals from a set piece.
Is that Tom's bet of the year? Is it Matt Clark anytime?
You know what? It might be. It's going to happen.
It will happen. You know, it's big head on it. Yeah, I can see that. I'm gonna go 3-0 Boro. Actually, I think I'm really confident. Going into it, scary to say that. I know. I just think we'll look really good. We look a bit more comfortable on the road. I think as well. In terms of possession, they'll let us have it in good areas. And yeah, look, if we can defend quite well, like Matt, you were saying, I think we can get a good win there. And then just in terms of Leeds predictions, my question is: are we going to go through or not? So Dana, yes or no, going through?
No.
Matt?
No, sadly not.
And then Tom, are you?
Yes.
What are you thinking? Yes, and I'll go yes as well. I'll go 2-2, so keep it even. All right, then. Well, that's it. But before we leave you for this week, just want to give a quick mention to the FCAs as well, because we are up for an award, of course. We need your vote, and if you got to the end of this podcast and go, you know what, these guys are pretty sound, give us a vote, because that helps us. Maybe get the gold this year, because got bronze last year. Let's go one better, and maybe get there in the end. But anyway, that's it. If you like this podcast, don't forget to give this video a like. I want to hit 100 likes. There, I said it on this video. 100 likes. Go and like the video. Go and subscribe to the Boro Breakdown YouTube channel and your podcast provider as well. We've got a lot of content coming up, including one load on, maybe two. With about Hamilton this week, and that'll be coming on Monday evening, Tuesday morning. But that's it. Boro have come a long way. Let me see what I said there. And can maybe beat Derby again. Hopefully get through in the League Cup as well. But for right now, this has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Match Day Chatter in a pod. Up the Boro Breakdown.